Well, welcome one, welcome all. This is a video that I have been looking to do for a really long time and have not gotten around to it. But this is Democrat or Republican or neither. Everything you need to know about why paper or plastic never ever fixed anything. And much of what you know and what you think of know is wrong, if not all of it. So, this is something that we gotta get this out of the way first. So about listening, people listen to learn, not to learn generally, but to respond. So we're gonna have to change that on its side here, and we're just gonna absorb it and then arrive at our own conclusion. So you get two ears, two eyes that see, and only one mouth. That's the reason for a reason. And listen to everything, and then respond to life. So let's get into that life, shall we? This is what this video is about. The bipartisan narrative, which will not survive in your mind if you watch the whole video. This is about what did not work and will not work ever. This is also about what would have worked and we rejected, the options you had, the lies, the myths, the damned lies in primaries, and that is the nuts and bolts of how they rig the system. And then we've got the lies you fell in love with two classic example issues. And then we talk about the incredibly hard things worth doing because your personal future depends on it. So, here are some key indications you believe in a lie. You think Democrats end wars and have adopted policies that help the poor in that sense. Or you perhaps think Republicans are fiscally conservative or free market. Or maybe you think Medicare and Social Security will be there when you need them. It's true for some people now, but, well, we'll see. We have data. Or we could just start with you think voting in a primary is a real choice. So here are some things that a lot of you guys don't know. That vote in primaries, especially based on the fact that you still want to be registered Democrat or Republican to do it. So your local precinct or town committee meetings, that's where the anointed ones get access to kind of decide how things are going to go. By the way, ballot drives to get on the primary ballot, that's the problem of the non-anointed, more difficult than getting on the November ballot. So those are the people who the anointed ones have not chosen. And by the way, money special interests are setting those agendas because they actually get what they pay for. That's why they donate. And by the way, conventions, that determines who gets into the primary. That's just the way it is. So by the time you think, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to send a message, your choices have been chosen for you. So you get to choose among those choices that have been chosen for you. So before you say, I want to work within Republican or Democratic parties, I want you to take a look at this list of fucking people and be able to tell me who all of them are. Now, you're going to probably see some names here and you're going to go, who the fuck is Merrick Alpert? Well, there's a reason you would know that. The same with Barry Goldwater. Who the hell was that? Who the hell was Dennis Kucinich? If you're at that point and you don't know who all of these people are, you probably have no idea whatsoever how long the same tired argument of let's work within the Democratic Republican parties has been made. Okay, they all know about the results, so let's just continue. Here's what they all thought. If I win, I'll be able to move insert Republican or Democratic Party in a more libertarian, progressive, conservative, random principled ideology here direction. And they failed utterly. Some did win office and primary elections. Never really stopped to ask, now what did I win in results exactly beyond that? So that's the thing. There's a whole point to winning, which is namely the stuff you want to actually do. So a lot of these guys thought way easier to petition in a primary than directly onto the November election actually matters. They found out that they were really wrong about that, and the losers lost the primary by burning out all effort on the drive, which is the entire point of a primary system. So, you see, political parties are not public. They are private. They see you coming a mile away and cheat to keep you out. Yes, they can legally do it, and by the time you get them in court, it's too late to give you any practical relief. So, those candidates you think you chose to make it into the general election, party insiders chose who you get to choose from. That's just the way it is. It's set up that way. Now, you might not like it. You shouldn't like it, but that's just the truth. So, the name of the game is this. It's power, not issues. It's about doling out your rights and opportunities to the highest bidder. You probably want some examples, don't you? Of course you do. So let's just get into it. Example 1. TSA. It wasn't to keep you safe. It was the airlines who didn't want legal liability for terrorists hijacking planes. No, they did not catch a single terrorist in 2 decades. No, there are never, ever any plans to stop grabbing your junk. That's all pretty well established. Oh, so you might remember this lesser-known thing called the PATRIOT Act, right? Original versions on the shelf since Senator Biden and then President Clinton were trying to get it. Lots of control, lots of contracts, and lots of ability to do warrantless spying, even look at library records as if your terrorist is going to go to the local library. And then Bush, Obama, Trump, all of them renewed and extended it, and Biden isn't going to be different. Example 3, Obamacare. You remember the original version? It was called, it was Romneycare. It was in Massachusetts. So the insurance companies caught on to you, catching on that all insurance was not insurance, but prepaid medical care at scam rates. They wanted you locked in. Bipartisan efforts locked you in. And the Republicans has the votes to get rid of it many times. So here's the thing about that. I remember all the wonderful, willing, deluded Tea Party good people that were being told, go up to Massachusetts and volunteer to get Senator Scott Brown elected. That will stop Obamacare. You know, I think the proof is in the pudding on that, but, you know, there's lies, damn lies, and then support Republicans pretending to want to get rid of Obamacare. It's not going to happen with them in office, and certainly we're not going to fix healthcare at all. So we can fix healthcare costs by simply enforcing the Sherman Antitrust Act or Patent Robinson Act, which costs zero money, but why would Democrats or Republicans want to actually enforce the law? Oh, by the way, we're going to get into this. 1/5 of the U.S. economy is tied up in the scam, and it is a scam that got bigger and bigger since Eisenhower was president. And yes, you'll see the graph later on to prove it. Oh, example 4, inflation. You know, a lot of people like to think that inflation is just rising prices. Actually, it's not. It is rising money supply chasing the same amount of goods and services. So you see this wonderful little graph published by the Federal Reserve Bank of Missouri. And this just kind of starts at 1960. And then we go up to like, 2000 into 2021. It's that nice little parabolic curve that goes up, which typically happens when Democrats and Republicans get together and say, let's just print up $6 trillion and blow it. That's what happens. So you want to thank anyone for these gas prices. Thank what was going on in 2020, because it takes a good 18 months. It takes a good year to 18 months for inflation to actually show up. So don't sit here and I know those stickers about Joe Biden pointing to the gas prices on the pump saying I did that. You see, that's all humorous and great, but the only thing you're doing is you're putting those stickers up in advance for when the Biden inflation's going to hit next year. So just so you know, those stickers should have a picture of Trump doing it. All right. You might recognize these guys. They were elected president. You've got Jimmy Carter to the left, and you've got Barack Obama to the right of the same left. Hope and change. Now, I want you to just go ahead when you get done with this video and decide, go ahead. I want to see their campaign ads. I want to see the ads they're running. Just go ahead. Just hear me on that. Example 6. There was the North American Free Trade Agreement. Ross Perot, you remember that guy back in 1992? He was right. It destroyed lots of jobs, including the useful idiot ones voting Democrat. So Trump ran against it and implemented his own identical version to it. So we didn't solve the problem. This is just like the BS we were hearing in 1992, which led us to the first Gulf War, where they were talking about tossing babies out of incubators, and we just kind of fall for this shit because we're stupid. So that's just a classic example of what doesn't change even when you elect Donald Trump. Oh, example 7 for us in Connecticut, that temporary income tax. It was temporary, implemented in 1991. There were several Republican governors. There were several other Democratic governors. It just plain never went away. The temporary measures last 30 years and sometimes longer, like the telephone tax implemented to fund the Spanish-American War, which was not repealed until 2005. All right, example 8. I know you're all sick of COVID, so am I, so is everyone who is saying it's not the Trump vaccine or the Biden vaccine. It's, you got the same manufacturers. And I know that was a big game back in 2020, and it was a rip-roaring good time, and it was hilarious, but, you know, reality is reality. So here's the reality. It's about punishing people and rearranging society. No, Trump did not liberate anyone, and I, among all people, was actually calling the Justice Department to say, hey, you want to get involved? How cool would that be? You know, do your job anytime, Mr. President. That would be great. So even if he got the vaccine too, which he did, he didn't stop any of the restrictions from continuing. So the playbook was this. Democrats wanted to inflate the fear to win, and Republicans wanted to let Democrats punish you, hoping that their pain would make them win. So the takeaway, like any other issue, they pointed the other at you like a loaded gun in an implied threat. Vote for us or else. So they both printed legendary, unprecedented sums of money. So don't. Oh, by the way, there was a libertarian congressman in the room, and he was critical to forcing a floor vote. So nobody even wanted to have a floor vote on $6 trillion. It's only $6 trillion. So whatevs, it's gone. And there's going to be a hard winter ahead. Oh, the environment. Yeah, so this is a classic example of intent-based policy. So the Endangered Species Act, what it does functionally is it sells dead animals, random holes, and bags of lime. Generally, if you're like a rancher or somebody who owns property, you find an endangered species and you know what's going to happen. Well, you know what you're going to do. You know what the incentive is. And the U.S. military is still the biggest organizational polluter in the world. We've had clean nuclear technology, thorium salt reactors from the 1970s. This is an answer we actively refuse because we go, a nuke is a nuke is a nuke. Well, you know, at any time we could just decide we could really dramatically reduce all dependence on fossil fuels, but we actually have decided not to. That's literally what we've done. It's there. It's not some boondoggle thing. It's not like solar's great. It has to get better, but this is way better. We have it right now. We just don't do it. We decide to not do it. Oh, and by the way, you're probably gonna wonder, is the tax code related to it? Absolutely. So before we had this wonderful tax code of all incentives, deductions, and credits that actually exceeded revenue, companies would fail if they did things that were wasteful. And that wastefulness was measured by, did they make money? And no, they didn't get to write it off on their taxes. They would just go under. So this is exactly not helping the environment. And I'm sure Amazon loves it. They don't pay any taxes. And you probably see the warehouses where they store all the goods that are returned. So get a clue. The tax code does have real environmental impacts that are not good. Healthcare. This is a problem. The problem has always been the price is hidden until you purchase it. You know, it's not like a garage where you say, how much is an oil change? Can I get a quote? Or it's not like Dunkin' Donuts. You go in there, how much is a coffee? $2, $3 with inflation. Maybe it'll be $4 or $5, depending on what your taste is. But you get a price up front. The problem is with healthcare, you have up to 200 different prices that all change based on who and how is paying. So Democrats and Republicans want someone else making the choice for you. What insurance can and cannot do, and solve the problem by making other people enter into involuntary relationships. So what do I mean? For example, in Connecticut, I don't particularly want fertility coverage. I don't plan on having any more children. But by law, I can't buy a healthcare policy without that coverage. So this is basically the kind of shenanigans going down. Special interests want things included, and of course, that's how things get more expensive. So has the cost really gone down? Have outcomes in heart disease, cancer, and diabetes improved? No, they haven't. And this is a helpful hint. Agricultural subsidies, both Democrats and Republicans promote forever, like sugar, fast carbs, they're driving the vast majority of healthcare costs. I mean, other than the price scams, we followed that food pyramid and we have the waistlines to show it. So let's take a look here. This is bipartisanship at work in terms of healthcare costs as a percentage of GDP. Let's start at the bottom, shall we? 1960, healthcare was only 5% of GDP. Now we're up to over 18. This is This is exactly what years and years and years of electing Democrats and Republicans to solve this problem has done for you. You have no reason to expect that it will change. None whatsoever. And if you still think you do after looking at this graph, after a solid, what is that, 50 plus years, you have rocks in your head. So, example 11, education. All mandates, top down, Washington, D.C., guarantees student loans. And by the way, not everyone should go to college. I know that's a crazy idea, but we decided everyone should go to college, even though they're not smart, even though they may need to take remedial courses. College is not for everybody. But because we made it for everybody, well, imagine it this way. Imagine if we said everyone can join the NBA, even midgets. Nothing against midgets. I'm just saying that's typically not, basketball wouldn't be watched nearly as much, would it? The tickets wouldn't sell for as much, would they? So right now, we have a situation where an 18-year-old can borrow $100,000 with no credit, work history, or employment prospects to defer his adulthood, but not to start a business. How about that? So, No Child Left Behind, Common Core, insert your boondoggle restriction here. They never go away, and they always cost more. And the only question even idiot local boards of ed try to answer is, how do we comply? Not, is there a better way we can do this without the mandate? So that's why your property taxes never go down. Ever. That's just the sad state of affairs. Example 12. This is really a bunch of issues in one example, but let's take a look at them, shall we? Abortion. What really happened with that? Science and medicine evolved past the partisan screaming. So, unlike 1969 when Roe v. Wade happened, there were concerns. And, you don't want people doing back alley procedures with coat hangers or any of that, do you? But now, we have all of this wonderful technology where birth control is available for less than $1. So is a test to find out if you're pregnant. So, this is what quietly just happened. While Democrats and Republicans were screaming about this to scare their bases, well, that's what went down. Science and medicine just simply moved past it. So, immigration's another one. The free market just moved around and over, and you can't have a centrally planned economy and unlimited immigration. So, the classic joke is, you know how Mexicans feel about Trump's wall? Well, they'll get over it. Usually over it by flying in and overstaying their visa, some under it, many around it, but mostly they will get over it, and that is just a fact. So, if you actually had an economy that was truly free market, you couldn't get them in fast enough. So, gay marriage, it's about the benefits and financial incentives, and you had the right to contract all along, and nothing Democrats or Republicans did could stop you, nor did it enable you to do that. It didn't. So, this is the thing. It's about the bennies. This is where it comes down to. To each his own. Everyone should be left alone to do what they want, but this is kind of where that political football has originated. You can like it, you can hate it, it's just the truth. So, let's go into some common delusions. A lot of people say, but you're wasting your vote if you vote, insert someone not RRD. Fact. You always waste your vote when you vote defensively and against what you don't want rather than for what you do want. That's just life. So, a lot of you watching this have probably wasted votes. It's just, most people do, that vote. So, a lot of people say, but insert someone not RRD will spoil the election. Fact. Republicans and Democrats spoil the election and the aftermath. The burden is on them to have delivered what was promised and better results. The entire point of an election is not to decide who gets to do whatever they want to anyone else, but what you want done. That's the whole point. So when you've got all these Republicans that win in a red wave, unmask our fucking kids. Deliver the product we ordered. When is it time? When is it time to reduce the national debt? Like Democrats, when is it time to end wars? When does this stuff get delivered? That's the whole point. So, continue. I'm registered to vote X party, and that means I can only vote for X party. A lot of people think about this. A lot of people think it's true. The fact is it's not true. It's never been true. You can even write in anyone you even want. You can write in Popeye or Flying Spaghetti Monster if, in fact, you wanted to. So, if I vote Democrat or Republican, that's going to send a message. A fact, yes, it will send a message. It will send the message that you are in fact stupid and will take any amount of abuse necessary to avoid what it is you are afraid of, even if that abuse is far worse than what you're afraid of. So go ahead, send that message if you want. It's on you now, and it's only on your kids later. I mean, it's not like they'll be here to pick up the pieces after you're gone. Common delusions continued. I want to be able to vote in a primary, so I'm going to stick with Republican Democrat. A fact. That's true. You get to vote for candidates that party insiders chose for you. How's that working out? Oh, by the way, food for thought. Did you know that most states require a certain number of registered voters for a party to be a major party? You can take that power and ballot access away by walking away from your abuser. I know it's a wonderful concept, but let's just humor me on this. This is a picture of you voting in a primary. And for convenience, I have one person is wearing the blue shirt and one person is wearing the red shirt, and they're driving head-on into each other, and they both feel as follows. I'm helping Daddy drive. I feel super good pretending to affect the outcome. Pure genius. Pure absolute genius. But, hey, sometimes you got to admit it. If you can't logically establish why you're doing something, through a factual or results-based reason, maybe you're just doing it because you feel good. Now, if that's your thing, if that's your shtick, if you just want to vote hard, Democrat or Republican, because it makes you feel good, admit it. Please just don't torture us with the results of your masochistic ways. So, common delusions continue. The question, who do you think will win the election? Fact, anyone asking that question needs to be honest, and the question is, who do you want to win the election? That's just a fact. People asking that question are really thinking that. Here's another one. Most people vote for blank. Fact, if most people got their way, nobody would be elected. That is who most people vote for. Nobody. Nobody, incidentally, wins in our delusion way of paper versus plastic or stay home. That's who's winning. Nobody is winning. So nobody's winning in fact, and most people are voting for nobody. So don't even try to. Most people vote Democrat or most people lean Republicans. No, just don't even do it. The facts are in, the poll results are in, the data's in. But if I don't vote Democrat or Republican, we won't stop communism or fascism. Fact, your genius hypothesis already resulted in the merger of corporation and state previously sold under the brand name fascism. Whether or not you feel better having corporate take over the state, dole out your rights and opportunities, and determine your own future by Democrats or Republicans, it doesn't change your idiocy in this respect at all. Choosing between fascism or socialism, the end result being communism, isn't a choice. Try choosing neither, because neither is actually right here. So, anyone can get elected president. I love this. It always comes up. Dead wrong. Only 3 parties have ballot access in all 50 states, Libertarian, Democratic, and Republican, and it took decades and many millions of dollars for the Libertarians to build their way into that. Vote whoever you want in the primary. What matters is who you actually get to choose in November. It's just a fact. Other one. Third party. Fact. You have the same special interests funding the same projects that are one party pretending to be 2. There's the second party. It's called the Libertarian Party. It's a cool party. You should probably try to join it and get involved. Third parties don't win because blank. Fact, if you're not talking about ballot access laws at the end of that sentence, you don't know what you're talking about. Go and pull out a petition for whatever party you want to get on the ballot. Hawk signatures instead of raising money or campaigning. You'll figure this out really quick. So, there's another one. The economy is much better under Democrats or Republicans. Fact. GDP equals total national income plus sales taxes plus depreciation plus net foreign factor income. So you can only imagine their solution. Government spending and debt solves every economic problem, and you have the grocery, rent, and fuel bills to prove it. GDP is a false measure. That's the yardstick they're using. So this is another one. I think Democrats/Republicans really got a handle on an unemployment thing. Fact, since Lyndon Johnson, the Bureau of Labor Statistics has played lots of games with the data at political direction. For example, only counting those who get checks for unemployment, that's you 3, is not the same as the labor participation rate. Now you're probably saying, what is the labor participation rate and how is it done under Democrats and or Republicans? Well, you want some data? Fine. Here you go. This is the labor participation rate. So this goes all the way from 2001 all the way to where we are. And it has just declined. So all those years of voting really hard rah-rah Republican and really hard Democrats will put a chicken in every pot, best of luck with that. How's it looking to you? This is the politically driven Bureau of Labor Statistics telling you there's a downward trend. So Here it is. Even the measurers of the liars are telling you the truth. So, common delusions continue. Vote splitting, or I don't want candidate X to split the vote. Fact. Voters vote for lots of different reasons, not all the same reasons, and usually defensively. So you don't vote for a candidate who will do what you want and let everyone else determine how you will vote. You will only get what other people decide to do for you. So I don't know if you feel comfortable about letting your neighbor make your health care decisions, or letting your neighbor decide who you can and can't marry, or letting your neighbor decide what kind of occupation you can enter, but this is pretty much what you're doing. Oh, and your neighbor is actually telling you how you've got to educate your children. Oh, imagine that. So, yeah, best of luck with that. How's that panning out for you? Democrats and Republicans won by insert amount, and that was a message from the voters to do insert mandate here for change. Fact, that's bullshit. Maybe the candidate smelling his or own farts thought that, but the truth is we have a winner-take-all system that doesn't tell them anything. There are better ways, like ranked choice voting, but Democrats and Republicans would never risk hearing a clear message from you, would they? Because how could they spin that shit? How could they use that as an excuse to do whatever it is they want to anybody they please, and of course claim they're doing it in your name? Common delusions continue. There's plenty of them, so let's just enjoy the show, shall we? I should join the Democrats and Republicans because their platforms and my beliefs most closely match. False. They believe in power. You really ought to start paying attention to what they do and what the results are. It's no different than that idiotic intent-based legislation you elected either of them to office that they passed. The intent hasn't matched the results. So pick your issue. It's true. We, Democrats, Republicans, won. This is awesome. Fact. Take a look around you. You didn't win anything. The same result is true of your favorite sports team. You didn't win that either. You didn't practice. You didn't go to the games. You didn't move that ball down the field. You didn't even raise a single person on that field from a kid and attend all those games when they were kids and get them to get drafted into the NFL, did you? You sure as heck didn't even kick that field goal, did you? So sports are for spectators. So if you don't get that, you shouldn't be voting. But if we just had more people in Republican Democratic Party, we'd change things. Fact. That's not true. The special interest money hired the party builders, the fundraisers and canvassers, and other annoying details on actually building parties and institutional knowledge. The truth is you'd change far more by building up an alternative, something you'd actually want that to do. You gotta build the alternative. Otherwise, get some lottery tickets and tell me how that pans out. If we just keep continuing with the Democratic Republican Party, things will change. Fact is, yes, they will. They will get worse. The truth is, that's the design. Their organizational structure is to take things from people and make people do stuff. Your proposal to join and get involved with them is like joining the mob to feed the hungry. Now just imagine this. You figure, I think the Genoveses or the Gambinos have probably been doing it wrong, and I want them to feed the poor, and I want them to house the homeless, so I'm just going to get involved. I'm going to run numbers as a bookie, and eventually you're going to get in a cigar smoke-filled room, and someone, probably Louis the Screwdriver, is going to say, "Kid, we make people fall funny. We cause buildings to catch on fire accidentally. We're the mob. It's what we do, So any organization designed like the mob is not going to be doing humanitarian work, will it? I mean, maybe it'll do some stuff, but not on balance, not the kind of true organizational thing that you'd want to turn about to, like, God forbid, let anyone have a storefront on Main Street. You wouldn't want that, would you? So if you don't want that, you have an option. Democrat, Republican. There you go. If you want another option, well, maybe you could go libertarian and say, I want people left alone. So common delusions continued. There's nothing I can do. I'm utterly powerless. It takes a majority or critical mass. A fact that couldn't be farther from the truth. So all it takes is the right people, the right efforts at the right time. So 3% fought the American Revolution, 3% were against it, and the rest did nothing. They were waiting to see who won. So only about 1,000 people implemented both the income tax and a central bank of issue called the Federal Reserve. On the core, number one reason nothing changes is because special interests behind the Democratic and Republican parties, they win because they convince you of your own powerlessness. That's exactly how that happens. There's no secret. It's out in the open. So get a clue and tell them, I'm not buying your Kool-Aid anymore. I can change things. All I have to do is vote. This is wrong. You've got way more to do. You only have the rights you're willing to defend by doing more than just voting. You got to build an alternative up so you can be left alone. And it's called the Libertarian Party. You have to donate. You have to actually get involved beyond the internet and talking to people only you agree with. You have to get involved in local government, attend local meetings. You have to learn about problems to solve them and help to solve them. You have to get alternatives on the ballot. I know petitioning sucks. I've done thousands and thousands of signatures, but you have to, or at least sign one. You don't have to do it all. You just have to be a part of the solution to do more than just vote. Baby steps away from Democrats and Republicans into being left alone. Every little bit of effort counts. So here's the solution. Register Libertarian, or at least unregister RRD. Like, don't be a Democrat or Republican. That's a good start. We'll take that. Vote Libertarian. Get involved in your local Libertarian Party, and we are building the infrastructure to get you left alone. You keep your money. You keep your rights. Go to lp.org. It's just get involved. It's going to be a life-changing experience worth doing if you already haven't. And I can tell you this, I've been in the party for 13 years, and we are doing way better. We are building way more in Connecticut and everywhere else. And this is hard work worth doing. And it is far easier than it used to be because of those of us who just came before. So please get involved. Welcome aboard, and stay free. It's about time, someone said the option is just leave everyone alone. Don't be mean to them. Don't take their stuff. So that's us. I hope you found this helpful. Please like and share this video. This is just kind of, I don't know how many decades we want to do the same thing over and over again, but that is up to you. And I'll leave you to